The galaxy glittered with millions of stars, and in the center of that shining sea stood the Galactic Council, a group of powerful alien civilizations who ruled with authority. They called themselves guardians of peace, protectors of order, and the final voice of justice across the stars. For centuries they had demanded loyalty, and for centuries most species obeyed. When humanity joined the Council, there was hope. Earth believed in unity, in trade, in knowledge, and in building bridges with alien neighbors. Many humans thought this was the beginning of a golden age. Ships carried ambassadors to alien worlds, scientists shared technology, and humanity gave its trust freely. But behind the tall halls of the Council, betrayal was already being written. Alien leaders whispered in secret chambers, their voices full of greed and fear. They saw Earth's growth, Earth's spirit, and Earth's refusal to kneel completely. They feared that humanity would one day become too strong, too independent, too dangerous for their control, and so they planned. The Council invited Earth's delegation to a grand summit. Banners of peace filled the star station orbiting the Council's capital. Human diplomats walked proudly through shining corridors, believing this meeting would bring even stronger bonds. Behind their smiles, alien eyes gleamed with lies. Among the humans was a young officer named Daniel Kane. He was not a diplomat. He was only assigned as a security officer to monitor transmissions. His job was simple, to guard and to listen. But Daniel's sharp eyes noticed something strange, encrypted signals bouncing between alien chambers, words spoken in a code not meant to be heard by humans. Late into the night, while the human ambassadors slept, Daniel decoded a fragment. His heart froze when the words appeared on his screen. Earth will be cut off, trade routes destroyed, allies forbidden to aid. Humanity must stand alone until it bows. The Council cannot allow them to rise. Daniel's breath grew heavy. His hands shook. It was betrayal, not just betrayal of Earth's leaders, but betrayal of trust, a knife in the back delivered with smiles at the front. The next morning, the human delegation stood in the Council chamber. The alien leaders spoke of peace. They spoke of harmony. They spoke of eternal friendship, and the humans applauded. But Daniel stood at the edge of the hall, his eyes filled with silent rage. He alone knew the truth. After the ceremony, he rushed to the human ambassador, whispering the decoded message. At first the ambassador doubted, his face pale, but when Daniel showed the recorded signals, the truth could no longer be denied. Earth had been invited not for peace, but for humiliation. Behind closed doors, the human delegation debated. Voices rose. Some said they should confront the Council immediately. Others warned that doing so would bring destruction. For the Council commanded fleets larger than Earth's. It held the trade networks, and it could choke humanity with a single order. Still, silence was not an option. The ambassador made a decision. He sent a secret signal back to Earth, not through Council channels, but through hidden human frequencies unknown to alien spies. The message was short, but its meaning was heavy. Council betrayal confirmed. Prepare for isolation. Prepare for war. Back on Earth, leaders read the message with grim faces. The Council had betrayed them. Humanity had been played for a fool. The age of golden hope was over. The age of survival had begun. But one thought echoed inside every human heart. If the Council believed humanity would kneel, they had underestimated the spirit of Earth. On the Council station, Daniel looked out of the window into the endless stars. He knew history had changed this night. Humanity stood at the edge of a storm. They were betrayed, surrounded, and alone. Yet something deep inside whispered that Earth would not fall. The scene ended with silence, but within that silence burned fury, the kind of fury that could shape destiny. And so the betrayal was complete. But in that betrayal, the first sparks of resistance were born, sparks that would one day grow into fire. A fire so bright the stars themselves would remember. The secret message reached Earth in the dead of night. Leaders of every nation were gathered inside the hidden chamber beneath the lunar base, their faces pale, their voices heavy. Betrayal was no longer a rumor. It was real. The chamber was filled with silence. Then voices rose. Some leaders demanded submission. They argued that humanity could not fight the Council. The fleets of the aliens were too many. Their star empires stretched across half the galaxy. Resistance would mean extinction, but others stood with fire in their eyes. They remembered the wars of Earth's past. They remembered that humanity had survived every hardship, From plagues to world wars, from famine to fire, they argued that betrayal must be answered or humanity would forever be a slave. At the center of the room stood Admiral Helena Drake, a woman of steel, her eyes sharp, her voice strong. She looked at the divided leaders and spoke, "If we kneel today, we kneel forever. The Council has shown us their true face. They want humanity weak. They want humanity broken. But I will not see Earth bow. I will not see our children chained." Her words echoed in the chamber. Many nodded, many feared, but none could deny the truth. Then, a secret was revealed, something hidden for years in the shadows. The Admiral pressed a switch, and the walls of the soaring. A chamber shifted, revealing holograms of starships never seen before. Ships larger, stronger, and deadlier than any human fleet that had ever flown. They were part of Project Dawnfire, a plan created in silence by Earth's brightest minds. The Council had always demanded access to human ship designs, but humanity had kept these hidden, disguised as civilian projects, built in asteroid shipyards far beyond alien sensors. Gasps filled the chamber, for these ships were not ordinary. They were crafted with desperation, designed with the idea that one day betrayal would come. Their weapons were experimental, their engines faster, their armor thicker. Every line of their design carried the spirit of survival. Still, doubt filled the room. A leader from the African Union spoke, "Even with these ships, we are few, they are many. Their fleets are endless." Admiral Drake answered, "Quantity is not victory. Spirit is. Tactics are. Courage is. We have faced impossible odds before, and every time, humanity has found a way." The room fell silent again, but this time it was not silence of fear. It was silence of thought, silence of calculation, silence of choosing between chains or freedom. Finally, the President of Earth's United Council stood, his voice trembling at first, then firm. "The Galactic Council believes humanity will kneel, but they have never understood us. They think betrayal will break us, but betrayal is the fire that forges us. We choose not surrender, we choose to fight." The chamber roared with voices, some in fear, many in defiance. The decision was made. Humanity would not bow, humanity would rise. At that moment, the secret transmission room glowed with activity. Encrypted orders were sent to hidden shipyards across the solar system. Engineers who had worked in silence for years now received the signal they had waited for. Activate Dawnfire. On Mars, hidden hangars opened, dust storms covering the site of massive starships rising into the thin sky. On Titan, great factories roared to life, producing weapons that no alien eye had yet seen. In the asteroid belt, entire fleets powered up, their engines burning bright. Humanity was awakening. Meanwhile, in the Council's capital, alien leaders laughed. They believed their plan was perfect. They believed humanity would soon collapse under pressure. Their spies reported Earth was panicked. Their fleets were weak. They never once imagined the truth. But in the shadows of the galaxy, a storm was building. A storm called humanity. Back on the lunar base, Daniel Kane stood beside Admiral Drake. He had been the one to uncover the betrayal, and now he would see it answered. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "They think we are alone, but they don't know us. They don't know Earth." Admiral Drake looked at the young officer, and for the first time in many years, she allowed a small smile. "No," she said, "they will learn." The chamber lights dimmed, the decision sealed, and history shifted again. Humanity had chosen its path, not of fear, not of surrender, but of defiance. The galaxy did not yet know, but the answer was already in motion, and when it came, it would shake the stars. The Galactic Council chambers glittered with light. Alien leaders gathered in robes of gold and silver, their voices filled with arrogance. They had already begun spreading lies across the galaxy, messages that painted humanity as unstable, dangerous, and unworthy of trust. On alien news networks, anchors sneered at Earth. They showed images of empty Earth fleets, old ships from past decades, slow, small, and weak compared to the great armadas of the Council. They laughed as they told their people that humanity would soon kneel, but they did not know what was waiting, hidden. In silence, far across the stars, deep inside the asteroid belt, the first Dawnfire fleet prepared. Massive warships rose slowly from hidden docks carved into stone, each vessel pulsed with blue energy, engines glowing brighter than suns. their hulls layered with new alloys stronger than any Council weapon could pierce. In the command chamber of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Helena Drake stood tall, her voice echoing across the fleet's channels. Today, humanity rises from the shadow of betrayal. They thought us weak, they thought us blind. But we are awake now, and we will show them what Earth truly is. Her words were carried into the hearts of every pilot, every engineer, every Marine. Silence followed. Then a roar of voices as humans across the fleet shouted in unity. Meanwhile, the Council was preparing their own grand show in the capital station. Alien ambassadors planned to announce new restrictions on Earth, trade sanctions, isolation orders, and blockades. They thought humanity was already broken. But then the broadcast began. The entire galaxy tuned in. Thousands of worlds, billions of species. Every starport and every home with a signal receiver was watching. The Council spoke first, their voices filled with lies about protecting peace, about keeping the galaxy safe from human aggression. Crowds of aliens cheered, convinced that Earth was finished. And then the screen flickered. The Council leaders froze. Confusion spread across the chamber, for the transmission had been interrupted, not by pirates, not by rebels, but by humanity itself. Across every world, across every city, across every starship in the galaxy, a new image appeared. Admiral Drake standing proud inside the command deck of the Resolute, her uniform crisp, the flag of Earth shining behind her. "This is Admiral Helena Drake of Earth," she said, her voice sharp, steady, and cold. "You speak of peace, you speak of friendship, but your words are lies. You betrayed us, you planned to starve us, to isolate us, to break us. But humanity does not break." Gasps spread through alien cities. Leaders leaned forward in their seats, their arrogance cracking for the first time. Admiral Drake raised her hand and the broadcast shifted again, this time showing the Dawnfire fleet rising from the asteroid belt. One by one, the colossal warships revealed themselves, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant suns, engines roaring as they moved into formation. There were not dozens, but hundreds, each armed with weapons never seen before. Rail cannons longer than alien battleships, missile bays that glowed like fire, energy shields humming with deep blue light. Silence gripped the galaxy, then whispers, then fear. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassadors shouted, demanded the transmission be cut, but nothing worked. The broadcast continued. Humanity had taken control of the galaxy's eyes and ears. Daniel Kane, now serving as communications officer aboard the Resolute, smiled as he watched alien panic spread. He turned to Admiral Drake and said, "They wanted the galaxy to see us as weak, but now they see the truth." Drake nodded, "Yes, and now they will learn fear." The broadcast ended with one final message, Admiral Drake's voice echoing like thunder. "To the Galactic Council, to every empire who believes humanity will kneel, know this, we are not alone, we are Earth, and we will never bow." The signal cut, silence filled the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Council's control shook. Species under their rule began whispering, if humanity could stand against betrayal, perhaps they too could rise. Perhaps the Council was not as invincible as it some claimed. In the shadows of alien taverns, in the barracks of slave armies, in the palaces of oppressed worlds, one word spread like fire. Humans. Back in the Council chamber, alien leaders trembled, some with rage, some with fear, but all with the same thought: the humans had changed the game and nothing would ever be the same. And above Earth, the Dawnfire fleet burned bright, a storm gathering ready to strike. The galaxy trembled in silence after humanity's broadcast. Every species had seen the Dawnfire fleet rise from shadows. Every empire had witnessed Admiral Drake's words, and the Council knew their betrayal was no longer hidden. Panic swept through the Council chamber. Alien leaders shouted in fury, their pride wounded. They could not allow humanity's defiance to spread. They could not allow other species to see weakness in the Council. And so they made their decision. "Send the Armada," hissed one elder reptilian overlord, his scales glowing with rage. "Crush Earth before their flame spreads." Within days, fleets from 6 powerful empires gathered, dreadnoughts stretching across space, carriers heavy with fighters, cruisers armed with weapons that had shattered rebellions for centuries. More than 2,000 ships formed a wall of fire, and they moved toward the Sol system. Alien generals laughed. The humans have a few hundred experimental ships, but against this, they are nothing. But deep inside Earth's command chambers, Admiral Drake and her officers prepared. The Resolute led the fleet into formation at the edge of the system near the dark gas clouds of the Oort region. Daniel Kane studied the enemy's approach on his screen. Endless red markers filled the map. "There are too many," he whispered, his voice shaking. Admiral Drake's eyes did not move, her voice steady as stone. "Numbers do not win wars. Will does. Remember that." The Dawnfire fleet spread out, their sleek hulls glowing faintly in the darkness. They did not rush forward. They waited, silent predators in the void. And then, the storm began. The alien fleet charged. Their cannons lit the dark with fire. Missiles streaked like falling stars. The void itself seemed to scream. The Council believed this first strike would shatter the humans instantly, but the Dawnfire fleet moved. Human ships darted through the storm with speed no alien had seen. New engines ignited bursts of light, weaving them between blasts. Railguns thundered, sending metal slugs faster than any Council shield could block. Alien cruisers shattered under the first wave, their hulls torn apart like paper. Shockwaves rippled through the Council fleet. Commanders shouted, "Impossible! How can they move so fast? How can they hit so hard?" Daniel Kane clenched his fists as he watched alien formations crumble. "They underestimated us again," he whispered, his eyes burning with pride. Still, the enemy pressed harder. Hundreds of fighters swarmed the humans like insects. Lasers cut across space. One human destroyer took heavy fire. Its hull cracked. Alarms screamed. Yet the crew did not abandon ship. They drove forward, ramming an alien carrier head-on, both ships exploding in a flash that lit the void. The sacrifice shook even the Council commanders, for humans fought with a fire they did not understand. Admiral Drake's voice cut across the fleet, calm but fierce. "Every battle is written not by numbers, but by spirit. Fight for Earth. Fight for humanity." Her words ignited courage. The Dawnfire fleet roared back. Waves of missiles streaked into the alien armada, detonating in brilliant explosions. Council dreadnoughts burned, their mighty shields cracking under relentless strikes. But the greatest shock was yet to come. Admiral Drake raised her hand, active, at the Aegis array. From the Resolute, blue light surged outward, a shield of energy unlike anything in the galaxy. It spread across the fleet, absorbing alien fire, bending beams of plasma aside. Alien commanders screamed, "That technology is impossible. No species has ever..." But their words drowned beneath the chaos. Human Marines boarded crippled alien cruisers, their war cries echoing through corridors. They fought blade to claw, gun to fang, and every alien soldier who faced them learned the same truth. Humans did not surrender. Hours passed and the Council's armada began to break, dreadnoughts retreating, fighters scattering, their perfect wall of fire shattered. In the command chamber of the Resolute, Daniel Kane turned to Admiral Drake. "We've done it. They're fleeing." But her eyes stayed cold, her voice sharper than steel. "No, Daniel, this is only the beginning. They will return with more. But now the galaxy knows humanity will not kneel." And so the first clash ended, the greatest armada of the Council broken by the will of Earth. Whispers spread like wildfire across the stars. Slaves spoke of freedom. Empires questioned their masters, and the galaxy began to tremble. For the Council had tried to crush humanity, but instead, they had awakened a storm that would shake the stars. The ruins of the Council armada drifted in silence. Shattered hulls burned across the void. Broken ships floated as tombs of arrogance. The galaxy had watched in awe. Humanity had faced 2,000 warships and survived. Not only survived, but shattered them. Yet victory was not enough. Admiral Drake knew it. Daniel Kane felt it. Earth's leaders understood it. The Council still lived. Their lies still spread. If humanity stayed silent, fear would return. So Earth prepared its answer. The Dawnfire fleet gathered near Jupiter, repairs echoing across metal halls. Engineers working without rest. Crews reloading weapons, the fire of defiance still burning. In the command deck of the Resolute, Admiral Drake stood with her officers, Daniel by her side. "We must speak," she said, her eyes sharp. "Not only to the Council, but to every world, every slave, every soldier, every leader who believes the Council is unbreakable. They must know the truth. They must see with their own eyes." And so the greatest broadcast in human history began. Across the galaxy, screens flickered once again. Billions stopped in their tracks, from the neon markets of insectoid traders to the frozen fortresses of reptilian warlords. Even in secret caves where slaves hid from masters, all eyes turned to the stars. The image appeared, Admiral Drake, scarred but unbroken, standing tall in the command deck. Behind her, the vast Dawnfire fleet glowed like a wall of fire. Her voice rang out steady, clear, filled with power. "This is Admiral Helena Drake of Earth," she began. Silence filled every world. "You have heard the Council's lies. You have seen their betrayal. They told you humanity was weak. They told you we would kneel, but we did not. They sent their armada, 2,000 warships, and still we stand." Gasps echoed in alien cities. Whispers spread through slave camps. Soldiers in alien uniforms paused, trembling. Drake's voice grew harder. "The Council believes fear keeps you chained. They believe their fleets keep you silent. But today, you saw the truth. Today you saw them bleed. Today you saw them fall. Humanity does not kneel, and neither should you." The broadcast shifted, showing images of the battle, alien dreadnoughts burning, human ships rising from fire, Marines boarding cruisers and tearing down banners of oppression. Every second carried weight. Daniel Kane's hands shook as he controlled the feed, his voice soft. "They're listening. They're believing," Drake continued, her tone a blade cutting through centuries of lies. "To every world that suffers, to every people enslaved, know this. You are not alone. Earth will stand with you. Earth will fight with you. And together, we will end the chains of betrayal." For the first time in ages, hope spread like wildfire. On a desert world enslaved for generations, alien workers raised their heads for the first time, whispering, "Humans." On a frozen moon where rebellion had been crushed 100 times, young warriors gripped their weapons again, their hearts ignited. In the depths of a jungle world, even children began to chant, "Earth, Earth, Earth." The council chamber boiled with fury. Leaders slammed their claws, wings, and fists against the table. "Cut the signal," they screamed, but nothing worked. Humanity had bypassed every blockade. Their voice was everywhere. One elder alien growled, "If the galaxy listens, the council will fall." But it was too late. The galaxy was listening. The broadcast ended with one final message, Drake's eyes blazing with fire. "We do not forgive betrayal. We do not forget lies, and we do not bow. This is our answer. This is humanity, and this is only the beginning." The signal cut, silence followed, but it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence before a storm. On countless worlds, rebellion sparked. Slaves rose, soldiers deserted, whispers turned to chants, chants turned to screams. The galaxy began to tremble. Back aboard the Resolute, Daniel looked at Admiral Drake, his voice quiet but certain. "You did not just speak for Earth, Admiral. You spoke for them all." Drake's eyes turned toward the stars, her voice steady. "Yes, Daniel, but now the Council will come again. Stronger, desperate, and more dangerous. We have lit a fire, and now we must protect it." And so the message was delivered. The galaxy was awake. The Council's shadow cracked, and humanity's voice became the voice of defiance. A storm was rising, and this time, it would not stop at Earth. It would burn through the stars. The galaxy was no longer silent. Rebellion spread like fire on dry leaves. Worlds that had lived under the Council's chains for centuries now rose with courage. The name human had become a banner, a word of defiance. But the Council was not yet broken. Wounded, yes. Humiliated, yes. But broken, no. In their capital, the alien lords gathered, their voices trembling with rage. They demanded vengeance. They demanded humanity be erased from history. "Destroy their fleet," roared a scaled overlord, his claws tearing the table. "Burn Earth to ashes. Show the galaxy what happens when a species defies us." Yet even in their fury, fear crept into their hearts. Their fleets had fallen once already. Their lies no longer controlled the people. For the first time, the mighty council felt hunted, and the hunters were coming. The Dawnfire fleet moved like a storm across the stars, not in secret now, not in shadow, but in fire and thunder. World after world opened its gates to humanity. Rebels joined, prisoners escaped chains. Even alien soldiers deserted to stand beside humans. On the command deck of the Resolute, Admiral Drake stood tall, her eyes fixed on the map of stars, her voice calm. The Council sits in their fortress, believing themselves untouchable. It is time we prove them wrong. Daniel Kane leaned forward, his face lit by the glow of the star chart. Admiral, their capital is defended by the Aegis Ring. No fleet has ever breached it. Drake's eyes narrowed. No fleet of theirs, Daniel, but we are not them. We are human and we do the impossible. The fleet surged forward, thousands of ships now, not just human, but joined by alien rebels, insectoid war swarms, avian strike craft, reptilian gunships stolen from their masters, all flying under one banner: freedom. When the Council saw the storm approaching, their arrogance cracked into terror. The Aegis Ring lit the stars, a fortress of colossal stations armed with weapons capable of tearing moons apart. The Council believed this would be humanity's grave, but humanity had already written another story. The battle began with fire. The Aegis Ring unleashed beams of plasma that cut across space. Entire rebel wings burned in seconds. Human ships shuddered under the storm, yet they did not break. They pressed forward, railguns thundered, missiles streaked, and the Aegis Ring shook under the assault. Then came the strike that no alien commander could have imagined. Hidden inside the Dawnfire fleet were ships that carried not weapons but silence. Stealth vessels built in secret, slipping unseen past the battle. They emerged within the ring itself. Human Marines stormed the fortress stations, their boots pounding against metal, their voices roaring in halls of alien marble. Daniel Kane was among them, his rifle in hand, his heart racing. He had been the one to discover the betrayal, and now he was here to finish it. The halls of the Council fortress echoed with gunfire and war cries. Alien guards fell back in panic. Never before had they faced soldiers who fought not for conquest, but for survival. As the Marines advanced, Admiral Drake commanded the fleet outside. Her voice thundered across channels. "Hold the line. Every second we fight here, every second they bleed, our Marines strike deeper. Do not falter." The Council chamber shook as explosions echoed through their capital. Lords screamed in panic. Guards abandoned their posts, their once mighty empire collapsing under the weight of its own arrogance. Finally, the Marines burst into the Council hall itself, Daniel leading the charge. The great doors shattered, smoke filled the chamber, and the alien lords who had once spoken of peace and betrayed Earth now cowered before human rifles. Daniel raised his weapon, his voice filled with fire. "This is the reckoning. No more lies, no more chains." Admiral Drake's face appeared on the hall's giant screens, transmitted from the Resolute, her voice steady, sharp as. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council lay in ruins. Smoke coiled from shattered pillars. Banners of alien empires hung torn and burned. The once mighty lords of the galaxy now knelt on broken marble floors, trembling before human Marines who held their rifles steady. Daniel Kane stood among them, his armor scarred, his face shadowed by firelight. He could feel the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. This was the moment, the one he had dreamed of since the night he discovered the betrayal. Above, the vast screens glowed. Admiral Helena Drake's image filled the chamber, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. The galaxy watched live. Billions of species tuned in, waiting. Every world that had suffered under the Council held its breath. "Lords of the Council," Drake began, her voice cutting through the silence like thunder. "You betrayed Earth. You betrayed the very oath you swore to the galaxy. You thought yourselves gods, but now you kneel, powerless, broken." The alien lords whimpered, some snarled in pride. One reptilian elder spat, "Kill us then, human. End it and take our throne." The chamber grew tense. The Marines raised their rifles. Rebellion leaders across the stars waited for humanity's choice, vengeance or mercy, blood or justice. Drake's voice did not waver. "No," she said, calm but fierce. "We did not come to take your throne. We came to end it." Gasps filled the galaxy. The Council lords froze. They expected conquest. They expected revenge. But they did not expect this. Drake continued, "The Council is no more. Its era is finished. From this day there will be no single throne of power. There will be an alliance, a circle of worlds where no species can betray another without consequence. Earth will not rule. Earth will stand equal. But make no mistake, betrayal will never again be allowed to rise." Billions watching erupted in cries of hope. Slaves wept. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Oppressed worlds shouted in triumph. It was not conquest. It was transformation. Daniel lowered his rifle slowly, his chest heavy with pride. He whispered, "She is not just an admiral, she is a builder of a new age." The council lords shouted in panic. Some begged for mercy, others cursed humanity, but their voices no longer mattered. The galaxy had turned away from them. Their power was dust. Then Drake gave one final order. "Remove them. Let the galaxy see that betrayal ends not with thrones, but with justice." The Marines moved forward. The alien lords were taken away, not executed, but imprisoned, their symbols of power stripped forever. The chamber shook as cheers rose from every corner of the galaxy. Fleets of rebels fired salutes into the void. Banners of freedom unfurled across planets. The galaxy was changing before their eyes. On the Resolute, Admiral Drake stood in silence for a moment, looking out into the stars. Daniel entered, his armor still smoking, his voice soft. "We could have ruled them, Admiral. No one could have stopped us." Drake turned, her eyes steady. "Ruling is easy, Daniel. Building something better is hard. That is why our answer matters." He nodded slowly, understanding. Our answer shook the stars. And indeed it had, for across the galaxy, whispers grew into roars. Humans. The word carried not fear now, but hope, respect, awe. On desert worlds, children carved Earth's flag into the sand. On frozen moons, rebels painted the name of Earth onto their armor. In cities once ruled by the Council, statues were toppled and replaced with the words, "Never again." Humanity had been betrayed, but instead of falling, they had risen. Instead of kneeling, they had lifted others. Instead of ruling with iron, they had chosen something greater. The galaxy would never forget. And so, the Scifi ended not with fire but with transformation. The Council was gone, a new age had begun, and the answer humanity gave echoed in every star, the answer that shook the stars forever.